Does the word feedback just give you the ick? If it does, we are going to rewrite how you feel about feedback in this episode. I'm Melissa Franks, your on-call COO, and you're at the Opt-in podcast. And this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. And today, we are talking all about feedback, all kinds of feedback, how to build a feedback culture in your business. And I'm not just talking about feedback between you and the people working for you. I'm actually going to spend most of my time today talking about the feedback that you can get from the outside world. You see, in the course of the past few months, working with a variety of entrepreneurs and heck, just getting out there and talking to people, what I have started to see is an emerging theme. There are those entrepreneurs whose businesses are booming, who are growing month over month and year over year, and they get a dopamine hit from feedback that they get from their employees and their clients and their peers. They're all about it. Why? Because it's good. And then there's the other entrepreneurs that are out there, and it's a little bit harder for them. They're looking at those that are doing really well and saying, man, I wish I could figure that out. I wish I could figure out what they're doing. And when I will ask them, so what's the feedback? What do you hear? What's the word on the street? What's going on? They don't know. And they don't know often because they're already feeling self-conscious about the performance of their business, them as leaders and business owners, and how their team is actually really doing if they have one. They're just not asking. And in some cases, their businesses are doing quite fine. They're just slapping a label on themselves that they're not going as fast as everybody else, which, you only see what happens at the end. You don't actually see all the turmoil that happens before. But that's for another day. And so they're just not asking, or they're so very busy that they don't even think to ask. And so today we're going to talk about why feedback is important, who you should be asking for, what you should be doing with it, and really the value to your business over time. Now, before we go any further, I want to be really, really clear that whether you own the business or you work for somebody somewhere that owns the business, hello, corporate professionals, I am talking to you. Feedback is incredibly important from whoever your stakeholders are, whoever they are. I'm going to, for the purposes of the rest of this conversation, refer to everybody as clients, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I grew up in retail. What does that mean? It means at 15 years old, I got my first job and I was selling handbags to middle-aged women. You want to test my leather knowledge? Go right ahead. And they weren't luxury handbags. This was long before everybody was carrying around a Louis Vuitton or Prada or, even or Kate Spade. That stuff didn't exist yet. I mean, it did, just not in my suburban community. I was selling a good old freaking handbag or leather jacket or belt or wallet or whatever. That's where I started in retail. Humble freaking beginnings. Let's not even talk about what minimum wage was at the time. Anyway, from that point forward, I spent over a decade, significantly over a decade, working in retail. And the one thing that you were taught from the very beginning, no matter what your role is, corporate office or store employee, is that the customer is the focus of everything you do. Everything. And the best way to understand what's going on with the customer, why they're buying, why they're not buying, why they're saying something's too expensive, why they're saying the quality's not good, is to talk to them. And so when I say client, what I want you to understand is that I see everybody through the lens of they are my client if I'm doing something for them. And children and friends of my children, if you're listening to this, because all of a sudden I have gotten super popular in the junior high and high school space. We'll keep that to Instagram. I'm not talking about my children being my clients. So I just want to clarify there. Small disclaimer. Back to the topic at hand. But everybody's your client. So when I worked inside a big multinational company, I was in operations. And so what that meant is that all of the other departments that we interacted with, whether it was finance or it was marketing, or it was communications, or it was the service desk. No matter who it was, they were our clients. They were expecting us to be able to make their lives easier. They were expecting us to be able to solve their problems. They were expecting us to be able to implement projects that were going to move the needle for them. And sure, because I was a service provider, I did have clients. I did have, the account management function, and I actually had like real tangible businesses because it was B2B that were my clients, but also the internal stakeholders that we provided reports to and deliverables and projects and et cetera, they were all clients too. So if you are sitting here listening and saying, this does not apply to me because I do not do anything for a client, you're just wrong. Because through my lens, from the retail world, if you are doing something for somebody else, they are your client. That disclaimer around children holds true. They're not your clients. In any event, if you're in the small business space or you own your own business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You just do. You, in some cases, are the client, meaning that you have third-party providers, you have agencies working for you, you have independent contractors, you have freelancers, and you're their client. So in some cases, you're in that role. And then in other cases, what you are selling in your business, you are selling to real humans out there in the world, whether they're businesses or they're individuals. So here is the thing, is you can come up with the best mousetrap, the very best one, and you can ensure to the best of your ability that you're the best thing around. What you do is better than anybody else. The service you provide, the processes you implement, the transformation you give people, it's world-class. Nobody can duplicate it. You can do that. And you can even have a booming business where you're getting feedback walking in the door to you. I want to tell you that that is a unicorn's dream. And here's why. Because in order to get to that place where your business is booming and you're rapidly getting feedback all of the time and the marketplace is telling you what's going on and you get to use it and et cetera, it's because over the years you've cultivated an environment where you encourage people to give you feedback. It didn't happen by accident. They didn't fall so in love with you and your business that they just wanted to get into your DMs, send you an email, go on to Trustpilot, and comment about how wonderful you are. No, it's because you taught them that that was the expectation. So for those of you that aren't in unicorn status, the rest of this is for you. Now, when I say feedback, this is what I am talking about. There are formal and informal types of feedback out there in the marketplace. Informal is a conversation. Informal is a voice note in a DM. Informal is a email one-liner thanking you. Formal is a survey response. Formal is completing some sort of tool that you have to provide feedback. Formal is coming to one of your events and recording a testimonial. Formal is you asking for the feedback and getting it handed to you in a consumable fashion. And ideally, the feedback that you're requesting is measurable. Ideally, you are able to make it harmonious so that you can identify trends and patterns and the good and the bad, and you could take action based on what you are being told. Now, when you start asking for feedback, you should be open to getting feedback in any way that you can get it. Informal is usually the best way to do it. You can be in conversation with somebody and just say like, hey, how did that go for you? They'll give it to you. Hey, would you mind putting that in a DM so I can use it? Hey, would you mind doing this, right? There are plenty of ways that you can gather informal communication. What I want to talk about today, what I want to focus on is the formal feedback. And here is why. Because the formal feedback you get to use as empirical proof for how things are going. Now, I like to talk to you a lot about metrics and data. I like to spend a lot of time talking to you about how important it is to understand your financials, whatever financials it is that you are responsible for looking at. And this is very much the same, because when you can consistently gather the same type of information in a certain way so you can quantify it, it will tell you what's really going on. There is a reason that businesses around the globe track something called the Net Promoter Score. And that's because that is industry agnostic. Everybody knows what an NPS is. And if you don't, go Google it. You can find out what it is. And typically, it's asking 3 to 5 questions to everybody on a regular interval and getting answers back. And then you know how satisfied your people are. And really, it's just a scale of 1 to 10. And the bottom, they're detractors. They're people that are not happy with you or your product. There are people that are neutral. And then a very, very, very tip top are the people that are promoters. Those are the people that are recommending you. They're your affiliates. They're your raving fans. And if you're looking at it from a scale of 1 to 10, then usually what it looks like is 1 to 5 is a detractor. 6 and 7, maybe 6, 7, and 8 are neutral, and 9 and 10 are your promoters. That's just how the swing goes. And so when you get a net promoter score of 30%, you're actually doing pretty good. 30% of all of your people are promoting you. That's not stinking bad. But here's the thing. You have no clue because you're not seeking out formal feedback. You know what also is happening when you don't seek out formal feedback? You have a blind spot in your business. You have no idea if the constructive feedback that you got from one person is something you need to pay attention to. You have no idea if actually there is something that you could improve because not just one person, but 10 people, 20 people, but 30% of all of the people that you serve or businesses that you help are experiencing the same thing, and there is a way to do it differently. You have no idea if you're just taking word off the street, if you're just going to friendly faces and soliciting feedback in that informal way. Because think about it, when you're asking for informal feedback, how are you doing that? You're coming up with a list of people in your head and you're like, they'll give me feedback. And I guarantee you that list isn't, oh, these are all the people that are so unhappy, I'm going to go ask them. No, the list of people that you want to get informal feedback from, those are your raving fans. Those are the people at the very top, the tippy top, the promoters in your NPS score. They're not the detractors. You're not asking them. You don't want to take a detractor's piece of feedback and throw it on your website, your sales page. Crazy. So when you're only gathering informal feedback, all you're doing is you're looking for validation that what you're doing is the right thing. When you go the formal route, when you intentionally ask the same questions of the same population over and over and over and over again, you're inviting in criticism. You're inviting in the truth. You are inviting in a conversation about what isn't going well with your products and services or your team or you. That's what's happening. And you see, whether you are a 6-figure business, a 7-figure business, 8 or 9-figure business, if you are operating without feedback, you are destined for a crash and burn. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? But I want to give you a little bit of an example. So Adidas, for those of us in the US, has been around for decades. In fact, they were around before Nike. And Adidas very quietly had these marketing campaigns where they would partner with celebrities to make a shoe. And I'm not talking sports stars, I'm talking celebrities to make a shoe, to make some things, to do whatever. And they would just bet. They would just bet that this celebrity would help us grow our business. And so they weren't creating vehicles and channels for feedback. They weren't creating ways for the consumer to say, this is what I love and this is what I don't love and this is where I identify with your brand and this is where I don't, and please stop doing that. All they were doing was making decisions based off of sales. That was it. And you see, what they did is they bet real big. And they took a look around and they said, Kanye West is a big star. Kanye West has big reach. We're going to give Kanye a massive deal. We're going to create a bunch of products. We're going to do all of these things. They did market research and they did surveys. And you know what they were doing is they were looking for data to prove their point. They were looking for data to prove their point, and it did. And so Kanye got the deal of his life. And Adidas, for a while, had a huge spike in revenue until there was a scandal. And then the business almost went big, and it's still trying to recover. And that's because Adidas went out into the marketplace and used all of their various tools and measurements to verify that their perspective was valid. What they didn't do was go out into the marketplace and ask feedback. Why do you buy from us? Is it because of the celebrities or is it because of the quality of the product? Why do you buy from us? Are we a lifestyle brand or are we a functional brand? Why do you buy from us? They never went and asked. Never single, not once. And then they bet and they bet and they bet and they double down. And then the scandal broke and then they stayed silent because they're like, oh no, the business is going to go under because they didn't get feedback. And then what ended up happening is that they took informal feedback, aka the world screaming at them to part ways with Kanye and to stop selling the merchandise and do all of the things, and they went into crisis mode. So not only did they go get formal feedback and really understand what was happening and have an NPS score and do all those things with their end consumer, the humans buying their products, but then when they took all of that data that wasn't based in feedback of any kind, and they made a decision to create a partnership, and that partnership imploded in their face. So when Adidas went out and took all of that informal feedback and made a decision that they needed to make a change because their business was blowing up in their face, they did just that. And then do you know what happened? They went back to all of the old tools that they know how to use to try to figure out how to save the business. They never once implemented a feedback loop. Now, this is an extreme example. None of you listening to this are executives at Adidas. You're definitely not in the $1 billion club and looking for advice here. But I'm using it to illustrate that you can get really sent in the wrong direction if you're not listening to the people that are buying your products. And that includes the people that don't. So here's who you need to be asking for feedback on a regular basis based on whatever makes sense for you from your sales cycles. You should be engaging with both groups, the people that made a purchase and the people that didn't. And you should be asking them the exact same questions. The only difference is those that didn't make a purchase, you're going to ask them what prevented them from buying. What was the reason that they hesitated? What was the reason that they opted out? You can figure out whatever the language is based on what you're selling, but you want to know, what was it? What got you in? What were you interested in? What value was it? But you want to know. And you don't want to ask them, was it too expensive? You don't want to ask that. You want to leave an open-ended question. Why did you decide to go in another direction? Ask the uncomfortable conversation. Ask the uncomfortable question. Ask. And the reason that you need to have these conversations is because they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you that they think that your product's overpriced, or they're going to tell you that they went to a competitor, or they're going to tell you it just wasn't the right time for them. You're going to get a variety of answers, but if you ask the people that didn't buy, just like you ask the people that did, you're going to be able to start to see patterns. What is the recurring theme with people that didn't buy? If there are 1,000 people that were interested and they ended up not making a purchase, not signing the contract, not doing the whatever, and you ask them all why, you will start to see some themes emerge. Some of them you're going to want to ignore. Some of them you're like, that's just cool. Just we weren't the right people for each other, and that is okay. And then other ones you're going to go, I left them hanging. I didn't follow up. Or the time frame for what I'm offering is too short. Or that's what you thought I meant by that bullet on the website? Yikes, that's not what it meant. Whatever it might be, you'll be able to start picking out themes. And on the flip side, with those that do buy, because they're going to be your raving fans, they're going to tell you all of the reasons that they said yes, all of the reasons they put down the credit card, all of the reasons, right? So you're going to have a counterbalance of what entices people to say yes and what turns people off. But when you do it in a measurable way, when you ask the same questions over and over and over and over again to the same populations, what inevitably you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to see what themes emerge. Now, this isn't the only sort of formal feedback you want to get. I want to go back to the NPS just for a minute. So now, what you actually want to know is based on the people that are clients, based on the people that are working with your business, based on the businesses that are working with your business, how satisfied are they with what you're providing? How happy are they? How likely are they to recommend? How likely are they to renew? And the one way that you do that is by you asking them questions at regular intervals that are exactly the same, engaging where they are on the spectrum. If you have 100 people that have purchased something from you in the last year, and you ask them all the same questions, and 30% of them come out and say that they are 9s and 10s with what you do and what you asked, you have 30% of your population that are promoters. If you ask the questions to those 110 of them come back on average at a 9 or a 10, you know that only 10% of the people that purchase from you are happy. Wouldn't you want to know that? Wouldn't you want to know? And here's the thing. Maybe you don't know if it's good or bad. If you do any research about net promoter scores, they're all really low. In general, people are not happy. But there's low and then there's real low. And you need to know the difference. And the only way that you can know the difference is by consistently asking the questions and measuring the results. That's it. You need to create a benchmark. You need to create a baseline. You need to be able to say, twice a year, once a quarter, we're going to do a survey and we're going to find out how we're doing. And that's going to establish our net promoter score. And then we're going to, every quarter, every half year, every year, we're going to have a goal to improve the NPS. That's it. You could literally do this right now. You could say, we are going to do a survey in the fourth quarter to establish a baseline. And then we're going to compare it to the first quarter and the second quarter and the third quarter and the fourth quarter of 2025. And the goal is to get the thing to come up every single month. And then that's when you're going to know, that's where you're going to know truly everybody's feeling. That's where you're going to know how you're performing. And that's going to be able to show you a trend on if you're improving customer satisfaction over time or not. This has nothing to do with how much revenue you're making. This has nothing to do with the cost of customer acquisition. This has nothing to do with the return on ad spend. This has nothing to do with the cost of goods sold. It has nothing to do with any of those metrics. This is purely about the humans that are making a buying decision related to your business. And if you do not know if they are a promoter, a detractor, or they are neutral, and you do not know what good looks like from an NPS perspective, you are driving blind. Sure, you can measure churn. You can see how many people don't renew. You can see how many people dip out. You can see how many cancel subscriptions you have every month. Sure, you can do all of those things, but you don't know why. And here's the kicker, is that once you start understanding the net promoter score by client, of course, you want to look at it from an aggregate perspective, but by client, then you can see patterns. Then you'll be able to see, well, everybody that's a promoter, out of our whole promoter pool, 95% of them renew over and over and over and over again. They are so sticky. They have the highest lifetime value. That's where we're going to invest all of our energy and attention. Right? Or maybe you see that it's the neutrals and the promoters that are super sticky and renew. And maybe you invest more time and energy into the neutrals so that you can decrease the churn and increase the lifetime value. Who knows? You have to have the data to see. And like I said with the prior example, if your net promoter score is like at a 10 or below, you know you have a real problem and that your business isn't sticky at all. And if it's that way by design, then cool. You're just in the business of acquiring new customers and like running them through the machine. And that's exhausting, but it can be done. It can be done. If your business, though, is one where you want stickiness and you want high lifetime value and you want recurring revenue, then you really need to understand these details. So when you are thinking about feedback in your business, you need to be thinking about it in two lanes. Lane number one is informal. These are the testimonials. These are the DM messages. These are the text messages. These are the Trustpilot reviews. These are the Yelp reviews. These are the things you can screenshot and you can show somebody and you can put in an ad and you can put on a website and you can do all the things. These are informal. And they're ones that you solicit. They are ones sometimes that you don't solicit, but you're only using the good ones. And they're great for an ego boost. And you should encourage them and love on them and ask people to submit them, because this is what keeps your entrepreneurial spirit intact. And then there's the business side of things, and there is the formal feedback. And these are where you are intentionally gathering the answers to the same questions over and over and over again so that you can measure how satisfied people are with your business. Now, the cool thing about the measurement side is that you get to decide when and how you do it. Do you ask them right after they purchase? Do you ask them after you've fulfilled and they have been using your product or service for a certain amount of time? Do you ask them at the point of renewal or post-renewal? These things are really up to you. And you get to decide what you ask, when you ask, and how you ask. What's important is that you do ask and that you do measure. And understand also that you can't ask once, that you will, every time you go out and you ask for information from your client base, you're going to need to ask them 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And you're also going to have to be really comfortable with the fact that like 70% of them aren't going to respond. But this is all about where I started this entire conversation. You have to promote a culture of feedback. When your business is greedy and hungry for feedback, when you're constantly asking for informal feedback, whatever it is, and then everybody knows to expect formal feedback requests from you too, you start to build this anticipation like, oh, I know they're going to ask me. I know I want to give them something good. I know that I want to get on camera. I know that I want to be on their social channels. I know that I want to really be able to tell them if they did this one thing, they would do better. When you generate an environment of feedback of all kinds, then your clients are going to be really transparent with you and tell you what to do. And what that's going to do is it's going to rapidly compress your speed, your ability to make changes and put them into the marketplace. It's going to rapidly compress that change cycle, because what will happen is they tell you right away. So instead of you having to do what Adidas did and rely on data and market trends and then basically the whole world screaming at them, what you're going to be getting is real-time feedback from your consumers so that you know exactly where you are with them. And if something you just did rubbed them the wrong way, you can make a change right away. Or if they're loving something that you thought was a minor change, you know to double down on it and talk about it and be loud and do all the things. If you are hiding in a closet because you do not want to get feedback, because you're scared of what people are going to tell you, then your business is going to crash and burn. The entrepreneurial skin needs to be so thick. You have to wear a flak jacket when you go out anywhere, because you look at your bank account and you're loving life or you're hating life. You're looking at any sort of metrics that you're reporting and you're loving life or you're hating life. And if you're hiding from feedback, it means it's because you're worried about something. It means you're scared what people are going to say. It's because you know that you could be doing things better, or that there's a gap, or you're just really insecure. And stable businesses don't shy away from feedback. Stable businesses, growing businesses are hungry for feedback. So I want to encourage all of you, whether you work in a super big company and your clients are internal stakeholders, or you own your own business and you sell to other businesses, or you own your own business and you sell to real humans out there in the internet or in person, or you have a brick and mortar, or you have a whatever. Create a culture of feedback. Create a culture of informal and formal feedback, and listen and ask the tough questions and look for trends, and then set targets and make adjustments. Your business will thrive with satisfied customers. Did I say raving fans? No, but satisfied customers, whatever that looks like. You will get promoted inside of your big corporate business when the stakeholders that you work with are happy and satisfied. You will be sought after in the marketplace when you have people that are giving feedback about how great it is to work with you. But first, you have to train others that as far as you are concerned, or your department is concerned, or your business is concerned, it is a welcome place to bring feedback of all kinds. And not only that, it's a place where feedback is going to be sought to understand and to learn and to make positive impact. And when you teach your clients this, your employees learn that too. And so what ends up happening is you propagate this world of feedback, both internally and externally. And you're known for having two-way dialogue with the people that you serve and the people you work with. Healthy businesses seek feedback. So I wish all of you luck. I encourage you to look out at 2025 and figure out how you can start getting more informal feedback in your job or your business. And once you figure out how to get it and you start receiving it, you spend time understanding it so you can take action. All right, folks, for a limited time, I am offering 2025 planning sessions. That's right. They're a 4-hour workshop where you get to take a look back with me at 2024, and we use that information and your goals, your big audacious goals for 2025, and we build an annual plan together with goals and metrics for the upcoming year. Not only that, you will have quarterly milestones that you intend to reach in order to achieve that big audacious thing in 2025. If you are looking to hit the 7 or 8 figure club, if you are looking to implement and introduce new products, if you're looking to have a live event for the first time, if you're looking to launch your business, the best thing that you can do is spend time right now planning for what's to come. And there are just a few spaces left. If you want an expert COO by your side to help you plan for the upcoming year, click the link in the show notes and book your workshop today. Until I see all of you next time, please know that you're wise, you're strong, and you're capable, and I believe in you.